Welcome to 5% Radio, where it's all about learning like no one else today so you can live like no one else tomorrow. Please be sure to share and subscribe. What's up, 5%ers, and welcome back to another episode of the 5% Radio Podcast. Today is episode 8. I don't know about you, but for me, that feels like it is flying by considering we just launched the show January 1st. So I am recording this in early February, and I'm excited to see what comes from the rest of these episodes, and I'm enjoying putting out this content for all of you. But I want to talk about something today that I have not talked about before, and this concept comes from the book The Compound Effect by Darren Hardy. There may be some of you out there that have read this book before. If not a big deal. There is actually a free version of the audiobook on YouTube, or you can actually go on Amazon and buy the real paperback or hardback book if you want to, or obviously it's available on Kindle and formats like that. But I will put links for the book on Amazon and the free audiobook that you can find on YouTube. I'll put those links in the description, but let's go ahead and get to the content. So what is the entertainment versus education, or the E to E ratio? What exactly is that? Why is it important? What does changing that look like? And really, if you do change that in the right positive direction, what can that do for you? So entertainment versus education ratio is really, what is the amount of time that you spend entertaining yourself versus the amount of time that you spend educating yourself? Because 5% people that are actually successful moving forward in their life in hugely important ways, and I'm not just saying moving forward in your job or moving forward in your career or small business, but I mean really transforming their lives, changing things in massive ways, going from making, $50,000 or $100,000 a year to making 7 figures. You're going from working 50 hours a week to working 5 hours a week while maintaining the same lifestyle or still a substantial level of income. What do these people do in this aspect of entertainment versus education? What do they do differently than the other 95% of people? Now, I'm not saying that if you are not making changes, I mean, you guys obviously know by now I started this show to change as many lives as possible, and I love hearing about positive changes that people make regardless of the area that they are in. But when it comes to making a massive difference in your own life and really having a true identity shift and moving your life from one of, just average to something that is actually extraordinary, that is in the top 5 out of every 100 people in all areas of your life, there is something that is drastically different in this specific area, education versus entertainment, that these people do that are 5%ers versus the people who are 95%ers. So I want to kind of cover some stats to lay some groundwork here so you understand the importance of exactly what is going on here and the depth of why this is such a big deal. So when it comes to entertainment, when it comes to entertaining ourselves, and by that I mean anything that is really just meant to relax or, for lack of a better term, numb your mind, that is this. The average American person, most people go to entertainment of social media and or TV. I know a lot of people that do both at the same time. They're sitting there watching TV and they're scrolling social media. And I'm not trying to bag on you if this is what you're currently doing. Just know that if you want to change some things in your life, you're going to have to change some things in your life. So here are the stats. The average American person spends 5 hours and 24 minutes on their mobile device every single day. Some of that may be texting, calling, but the vast majority of that is going to be them playing around in apps or on social media. There's all kinds of different ways that they can do that, but the average American person is spending 5 hours and 24 minutes on their device per day. Let's be generous and say that you spend an hour per day answering text messages, and you spend a half an hour per day answering calls. You're still looking at close to 4 hours spent on your phone. You're looking at 3 hours and 56 minutes spent on your phone every single day, unaccounted for outside of phone calls and text. On average, the Americans check their phones. I can't really speak for other countries, but on average, us in America check their phones at least 96 times a day. That really roughly translates to once every 10 minutes. I've seen a lot of people that check it more than once every 10 minutes, but that's kind of what that breaks down to. On the same hand, the average adult spends 2 hours and 27 minutes per day on social media. So that's an adult. If you want to get into the younger ages, Gen Z, those are the really kind of younger, like the teenage ages, those people in that generation spend almost double, close to 4 hours every single day. Furthermore, nearly 80% of Americans watch TV every day, with the average person watching about 141 hours of TV per month. That's 1,692, or close to 1,700 hours of TV watched per year. And if you just assume the average life expectancy of 78 years in the U.S., and you take that time and you multiply it out, that is about 15 years of your life. Well, let's say that you did not start watching TV until you were older, maybe a middle-aged teenager, or in your, late teenage years, which is highly unlikely because most of us grew up watching things like Saturday morning cartoons. But let's just give you the benefit of the doubt, and you took a long time to start watching TV. You still have 10 years plus of your life invested in watching TV. Now, again, I'm not bagging on you if this is something you do, but I want you to understand there is a cost with everything we do. So you can do one of two things with your time as a whole. There's only one or two options that you can do with your time. It's similar to money, but it is a medium that you can exchange to either get something that you want. You can invest it, meaning I'm expecting a return on investment in this time that I'm putting into this activity, or you can spend it, which means you can waste it. Now, not everything you do for entertainment is a waste of time. Do I have movie nights with my wife here and there? Absolutely. Do we have game nights with our friends? We absolutely love having people over. We have people that we love and adore that we cannot wait to get back to our house, to have game nights, to watch movies, just to spend time with. But I'm not expecting a financial return on that time, but it's also not wasted because I'm investing into relationships. It is intentional. When I am just sitting by myself, or just me and my spouse are sitting by ourselves on the couch, watching TV. Little side note here, I don't have a cable subscription. I don't have a satellite dish. I don't have Netflix. I don't have Hulu. I don't have any of that stuff. We don't even really have a TV up in our home outside of for the purpose of movie nights, in which case if we do a movie night, we have to take my laptop, hook it up to an HDMI, find a movie that we want to watch that we've checked the ratings on, that I make sure isn't going to be full of absolute trash and garbage because I don't want to put that trash into my mind, and then we'll have a movie night. That does not happen very often, but I'm not sitting there watching true crime or Desperate Housewives or The Bachelor or the latest episode or rerun from 20 years ago of Friends. We're not doing that because it's not going to take me in the direction that I want to go. Does that sound fanatical? Yes, absolutely, but there's an importance to your E to E ratio. Now, that being said, if you took those same hours that I just mentioned, that's 1,692, almost 1,700 hours. If you took 1,692 hours and you multiply that out by the average wage, if you Google this, the average American right now is making, if you average everything out over everybody, people that make a lot, people that make a little, people that are right at, minimum wage. This is the latest stat that I could find. Obviously, it could be a little bit more. That comes out to about $11 per hour, which translates to $18,600 per year. Now, I can remember a day when I worked a lot of hours and came home or brought home less than $18,000 when I was a young kid. So 1,692 hours per year if you're just making $11 an hour. So if you say, okay, my time at my job is worth $11 an hour, how much is that time worth that you are just spending, wasting, watching television? $18,600 a year. Well, Jesse, you don't understand. I make more money than that. I make about $15 an hour. Okay. You probably won't want me to keep going after this, but don't worry, I will. $25,300 a year if you watch TV 141 hours per month. If you make $20 per hour, now we're probably getting closer towards most people's earning nowadays, unless you're, taking out gobs of money for insurance that your work provides and things like that. 1,692 times 20, now we're looking at $33,800 per year. So you're basically looking at a full-time job is 160 hours. People are spending almost the equivalent of a full-time job watching TV every day. If you don't think that's you, I totally understand. But some of you right now are thinking, I knew I was above average. We watch way more TV than that in my house. If that's you, that's okay. That's what we're here to talk about. If you want to change, I invite you to. Again, if you want to change some things, you're going to have to change some things. See, there's a story of this guy. He's at work, and he's sitting there with the guy at work, and he pulls out his lunch, and he's like, ham and cheese sandwich, man. And he's complaining, he's griping, he's whining, he's eating his sandwich, ham and cheese sandwich, potato chips. I'm so sick of this. And he keeps eating. And the next day he comes into work, and he's sitting down for his lunch break, and he's like, oh, man, he opens up his lunchbox. He's like, ham and cheese sandwiches again? And his friends kind of taking notice, like, man, 2 days in a row, this guy's, complaining, whining like a little girl about his lunch. Like, what's the deal? The third day he comes in, and you guys already know what I'm going to say. He's like, ham and cheese sandwich, and his buddy interrupts him and cuts him off. He's like, look, man, he's like, if you have a problem with the ham and cheese sandwiches, why don't you say something to your wife? And the guy looks at him, he says, leave my wife out of this. He said, I pack my own lunch. All of us pack our own lunch, so to speak, when it comes to how we spend our time or how we invest our time. Just going to kind of let that settle in. So this guy's complaining about something that he is doing in his own life. He's complaining about the result that he is getting from the time that he's putting in every morning to pack his to pack his lunch while he's getting ready for work. In the same way, a lot of us will put absolute garbage. We'll put a ton of social media. We'll put a ton of TV. We'll watch a ton of movies. We'll play a ton of, here's a big one, video games. A lot of people spend a lot of time playing video games. Let me tell you something. Video games are never going to make you rich. They're never going to get you financially stable. They're never going to help you be a better parent. They're never going to help you have a better marriage. They're never going to help you move forward in your career. It's never going to help your business grow. It's never going to help your health. It is an absolute spending of your time. You will never get an investment on that time. Well, what if I'm a video game streamer, or I'm a professional video gamer and blah, blah, blah. If you are a professional video gamer, then you can tune me out right now. And by that, I mean you are hired full-time. If you are a pro video gamer and you're making six figures a year playing video games, then more power to you. You have obviously developed a very unique skill set and you're great at it, and keep doing it. Otherwise, I understand that it's fine to have hobbies. I do have hobbies myself. There are things that I do that I expect no return on investment for, but the majority of the ways that I spend my time, when I say the majority, I mean I don't have a whole lot of wasted time in my life. The majority of my time that is not dedicated to my family, my work, or meeting with people to help them through their problems or help move them forward in their life in some way, shape, or form is devoted to studying. I want to listen to information. I want to read good books, and I want to grow spiritually. I'm a Christian. I want to grow in my walk with God, so I need to study the Word of God. I need to spend time with God. On the mental side, on my mindset side, I want to grow in that capacity. So I'm going to read books by great authors, by people that have thoughts that are elevated above my own. They've solved larger problems in their lives than I've been able to solve in my life. They have results that I want, so I want their thinking. Therefore, I'm going to read. People will make fun of you if you are a student. See, in school, it was not sexy to be a student. It was cool to be a jock. It was cool to be the dumb guy that was really good at football. It was geeky and nerdy, and man, you're a dweeb, you're a dork if you enjoy school, if you're studying outside of class, if you're skipping recess, or you're trying to do homework on lunch, or you're in home ec and you're actually, this is going to shock some of you, you're actually trying to get your work done or trying to get better at a specific class versus just goofing around. See, in school, that was not praised, but the people that come out and do big things with their lives after they get done with school, whether that's high school or college, you all know my views on college. $596 is the average credit hour cost right now just to go to school for 4 years. 120 credit hours on average, over $70,000, end up working a job for 45 years and retiring on half to a third of your income based on the numbers that they've tracked out since World War II in the 45-year plan, a stat that was put out by the Federal Bureau of Labor and Statistics in 2018. So I'm not a fan of college. I'm not praising college. I'm not saying all of you should go get college degrees, and education will make you so much better of a person. But what I am saying is that the people that come out of school and that end up doing big things with their lives. See, you hear a lot of people say things like, well, I'm just a doer. There's people that take time to study, and that guy who's reading 2 books, while he's reading 2 books every month, I'm just going to be out doing, and I'm going to pass him because I'm going to work harder. And that's not always the case. I've met people that have been married for 10, 20, 30, 40 years, and they still argue about stupid stuff that my spouse and I would never argue about. They say little sharp remarks, or they make biting comments, or they make cutting jokes. My wife and I never do that stuff. We don't have more experience than them, but I have spent a lot more time reading marriage books than some of them have. Some people are married for a long time just out of sheer stubbornness. They don't have a happy marriage. Things are not going well. People can tell that they're not madly in love with one another. They are just stubborn. In the same way, there's people that will work on the same exact field for years and years and years, and they won't take time to educate themselves. They will take time to entertain themselves, but they won't take time to educate themselves to actually grow intentionally in a direction that could help them with their lives. So back to the guy that is packing his own lunch, the ham and cheese sandwich dude. It's his fault that he's not liking his results, but he's not willing to change what he's doing every morning, prepping for lunch before he leaves the house. Because he's unwilling to change, he's unable to get a new result. See, here's the problem with entertainment. the majority, and when I say the majority, I only mean about 99.99999%, pretty much 100%. Yeah, basically everything on TV and social media is garbage. Now, for those of you that are out there like, oh, no, I only watch Hallmark movies. I get it. Keep watching them. My mom loves them. They all end the same. I'm not going to spoil the next one for you, but they all end the same. But there's junk on TV. There's a lot of junk in movies. There's absolute trash on the news. I have not regularly watched the news. You make your own choices, do what you want to do, but I have not regularly watched the news since I was like maybe, I don't know, probably like 14 years old. The last time I actually kept up with the news, though, is when I was still in high school, because my dad would watch the news every morning drinking his coffee. He's super into politics and just, what's going on overseas at this time. He'd watch the news every morning, and sometimes I would catch up on some of it. Not a huge deal, and I'd go on without my day. But since I've learned a lot of things about marketing, about persuasion, about the way your subconscious mind works, about the way that they actually do things in the media, the goals behind it, the things that fund the media, the TV, the news that we watch every single day. If you notice, every single news station reports on the exact same stuff. They might have slightly different angles, but it's all the same stuff. If a guy gave away $1 billion to build 20 churches over in China for underground churches that were having a hard time finding places to meet, if he did that, just let's say, that would never make the news. But if a guy, goes out and murders a family and is found in their house and they're all still in there, that makes the news. If a guy goes out and does something absolutely terrible, that makes the news. If some guy goes and robs his own grandmother and, threatens her neighbors and sets fire to her vehicle, that makes the news. Someone cheats on their wife in corporate America with 3 other CEOs' wives of large companies, and there's this big corporate scandal, and they suck money out of the company, and there's embezzlement and all this stuff, that makes the news. Some guy just has his 70-year anniversary in his marriage, and they have just a phenomenal marriage, and they're still happily in love and all this stuff, that doesn't make the news. It's trash that makes the news. I want you to think about if you're not into cars, you might not get this analogy, but everyone has probably heard of a Lamborghini. If you have a Lamborghini, it is a, $180,000 or $200,000 or $300,000 plus car, depending on which one you get. So you've got this beautiful Lamborghini. I pull this into your driveway and I leave it there and I'm like, you know what? Insert name here. This is yours now. It's my gift to you. I just had a windfall of cash. I was going to say from the lottery, but I've never bought a lottery ticket in my life, nor will I. The lottery, by the way, is a tax for people that are bad at math. You have a better chance of getting struck by lightning twice than you do at playing the lottery. So for those of you listening, if you've been struck by lightning twice, this is your cue. Go buy a lottery ticket now. But if you have not been struck by lightning twice, then it's probably not your thing. So I'm not going to encourage you to play the lottery. It's not something that I would endorse or am a fan of in any way. But for the sake of the analogy, let's say that I just had this massive windfall of money and I pull up into your driveway and I'm like, hey, insert name, this Lamborghini is yours. Do what you want with it. Here is the title. Here are the keys. It's all yours. What would you think if I came over to your house and the next time I was at your house, I'm in your driveway and I'm like, hey, you know what? This thing is a little bit low on fuel. I have some sand in the back of my trunk. We can just pour it straight into the tank. You would freak out. You'd be like, are you kidding me? Do you know how much this car is worth? You just gave this to me last week. I only put premium gas in this. Like I put the highest quality fuel that I can put in this tank possible because this thing is a finely tuned machine meant for racing. I have to put the best of the best in this vehicle. But at the same time, you listen to something like this, or you read a book, or you hear someone say something along the lines of be careful what you put into your mind. You know, the old song we used to sing as we're growing up, or maybe you sing it to your kids now, be careful little eyes what you see, be careful little ears what you hear, be careful little lips what you say, be careful little feet where you go. That's still true. Be careful little ears what you hear and eyes what you see. You cannot unsee things. You can't unhear things. When something goes into your brain, it is in there for good. Try forgetting something intentionally that you have put in your brain. Like try forcing yourself to forget it. You can try. It's still in there and it's still easily recallable anytime it's going to come up. You might not even want it there, but it's going to come up. How many of you have bad memories or you've seen stuff or you maybe you watched a movie that really just scared the daylights out of you, freaked you out. In that movie, those scenes keep coming up over and over and over and over again. Now you're 30 years old and you're afraid of the dark in your own house because you just watched some trashy movie that has you all freaked out and walking on eggshells in your own house as a grown adult because you were not careful what you put into your brain. I'm coming to a close here, but just understand that your brain, what you put into your mind, your education is of the utmost importance. So while you can be one of those people that spends all that time on social media, you can be one of those people that spends all that time in front of a television, or you can read, books that are filled with filth and that aren't taking you anywhere towards where you want. You can do that, but your entertainment to education ratio has to be balanced in the right direction, more towards education than entertainment if you want to move forward in important areas of your life. Warren Buffett, who at one time was the world's richest man, I believe he has been passed now, but he's usually in like the top 2 to 4 richest people in the world. I believe he normally sits around number 3, but he says this. He says, the more you learn, the more you'll earn. He also says that you are your number one investment. He says you are your number one investment. In episode 1, I talked about how your thought life, your thoughts create your feelings create your actions, and your actions ultimately lead to your results. And like I said, I will be doing an entire series or a mini course on mindset in the future. But your thought life creates your real life. Your inner life creates your outer life. Life is not as it is. Life is as you are. So if you want to grow, you have to be intentional. It's been said that people usually end up maturing involuntarily until about age 25, and all growth in their life in any area outside of physically, we can all grow pretty easily when it comes to, out. That just kind of happens naturally if you don't watch things. However, that being said, when it comes to actually growing intentionally after the age of 25, your brain is pretty much done developing. It starts to, people say, solidify. The plasticity is going away, whatever. There's mixed beliefs on that. When I say plasticity, I mean your ability to learn new things, but you have to grow intentionally from that point on in your life. Here's the last thing that I want to cover with you, and this is also, it comes straight from Darren Hardy's book, The Compound Effect. And again, there is going to be a link on the description for the Amazon book if you want the hardback, paperback, or the Kindle version of that, or you can listen to the free version of the audiobook on YouTube. I was able to find that, and I put a link for both of those things in the description. Highly recommend listening to the book. As with all books that I would recommend, I'm not going to say that I subscribe to 100%. The only book that I'm ever going to recommend that you read that I say I subscribe to everything in the book would be the Bible, but there are other books that I'll recommend that are great reads. They have a lot of nuggets. They might have 98% awesome stuff, and 2% of it you might just, I'm going to throw that out. So just use discernment when you read, and if you're not really sure, then just read the book. And if you read something and it just flat out doesn't agree with you, or obviously if the author says something kind of off color, then just move on and take the good and leave the bad. But he talks about the concept of the world versus my world. This is why I don't really keep up on social media much, because the world, meaning everything that goes on around me, versus my world are two totally different things. The news is the world. My world is my life, my family, the people that I can directly impact, and the things and causes, skill sets, talents, and abilities that I have power and control over, that I can actually use those, put them into action, and impact someone's life in a positive way. That's my world. Stephen Covey puts this in terms of the circle of influence versus the circle of concern. He says the circle of concern is basically all the things that you could allow into your life. It's all the things that you could be concerned or consumed by that you really don't have power to change. See, I can get as concerned as I want about, let's say, the Kardashians. I can be as concerned as I want about the latest thing that's going on with, is it Kim? I think that's her name. But that's not going to change my life. But my circle of influence, the people that go to my church, the people in my community, the people in my teams that I work with, the people who are actually listening to this podcast, the people who my wife and I counsel on marriage, the people who are just our friends that we hang out with, the couples. Like, I was just at someone's house tonight. We had cracked chicken. If you've never had that, it was amazing. But the people that I go and just fellowship with, that have dinner at their house, sit down, have a game night, whatever, I'm investing in relationships. That is the difference between the world and my world. That is my world. That is my circle of influence versus my circle of concern. So keep in mind that when you look at the entertainment side of things, generally speaking, 100% of that falls into the world or your circle of concern. It's not really things that you can have a direct impact on. It's just a TV show. It's just something false. It's not real. So my challenge to you, and just kind of a quick recap of this, your entertainment versus education ratio needs to be balanced, not towards 50-50, but it needs to be unbalanced in such a way that you are focused more on education than entertainment. If you're going to focus on entertainment for any period of time, give yourself a time limit. Give yourself a time limit. I do not have YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, any other social media platform, Twitter, TikTok, anything. I don't have any of those on my phone, not because I hate them, not because I don't check them here and there, not because I hate spending time on them. In fact, I love YouTube, and I can easily waste like 5 hours in a day on YouTube. I don't not have Netflix or cable or anything else in my life, in my house, as a subscription on any of my cards. I don't have it for the reason that I know I will waste time. So there's an old adage, and it says, man, know thyself. You need to know yourself, know what you can handle. So if you cannot handle the TV being up and not watch hours and hours and hours of it every single day, if you can't handle having Facebook on your phone without wasting time on it, if you can't handle having YouTube on your iPad or whatever type of tablet you have, I went to name more and I can't think of any more. I'm an Apple guy through and through, but if Samsung tablet, there we go, there's one more. If you have that stuff on your tablet and you can't handle having it on there, then get rid of it. Just like, I have friends that are former alcoholics, and it would not be a good idea for that guy to go hang out at a bar, even if he's like, you know what, I'm doing ministry there, or I'm the DD for my friends, and I make sure they stay safe. It would not be good principle for him to say, yeah, I'm going to go put myself around something that previously I couldn't handle at all. It's just not a good idea. So you have to know yourself, know your limitations when it comes to your entertainment. If you cannot have something in your life without it consuming your life, then it's better not to have it there at all, or to have someone else help you moderate that thing. So here's how you can start implementing this right now to start trying to change the ratio in favor of where you want to go and to be more focused on your education and growth rather than entertainment. Start reading or listening to a personal growth type book, parenting book, a marriage book, a mindset book, a success book, financial principles book, how to increase your health, how to sleep better, something along those lines, something to grow you in some way, shape, or form all the time. Me personally, I usually have about 3 to 5 different books going at a time outside of my daily reading in the Word of God. I usually have some type of a Christian book, if I can find one that I actually enjoy reading. Some of the books I've picked up in any category can be dry, and if you are hating reading the book, sometimes push through. But if you've already read 100, 200 plus books, and you're like, man, I've got limited time to read things, and this is not something I want to read, or I've got limited audiobooks I can listen to, I've got limited podcasts that I can listen to. You get halfway into an episode, hopefully it's not one of mine, and you're like, this sucks. You can shut that off. You can close that book. Don't do something that is going to just crush the habit right away because you hate it so much. But I, generally speaking, try to have a general success principles book, just, how to become better in all areas, how to actually move forward towards your goals, how to, self-discipline, things like that, success principle mindset. I try to have one of those going. I usually have some sort of counseling type or a relationship type book going, whether it's how to be a better communicator, or a marriage book, or, like Speed of Trust by Stephen Covey, or something along those lines that's going to help me build relationships and communicate with others, or just communicate as a speaker better. And then I'll try to have a financial book going, and I may have something for strictly just something that I want to read, or I might have a book that I am reading for my business that I run that is going to help me move forward in that direction and serve clients and customers better. But it just depends on exactly what you're doing. So again, if you want to learn more about this, you can go to the show notes and check out the Compound Effect physical book. I will have a link for that, and the Compound Effect audiobook, I will also have a link for that. But I hope you guys enjoyed the show this week, and I will talk to you in episode 9, the next episode.